So how did I get started on my life of crime, robbing trains at Silver Dollar City? Well, here's the story and how a robber gets started. I got started working at Silver Dollar City back in 2012. I and my wife and daughter had actually answered a cattle call job fair interview fair to go to Silver Dollar City and get jobs. At the time, they would announce the day that they were having a job fair, and you would show up with your resume and work experience, fill out an application on the spot, get interviewed on the spot, and oftentimes on the same spot, you would find out whether you had a job or not. They did screening interviews, job interviews, and then job offers all at one time. Today, if you want to get started at Silver Dollar City or many other theme parks, their application process actually starts online, and you fill out everything online, and then you might get invited to a job fair or to an interview. But back then, it was all straight from scratch right there. I had gone in because I needed a job, and I wanted to do something that was going to be a lot of fun. I love my job as a pastor at church, but I'll be honest, working as a pastor is very stressful, and most of us pastors, we don't get paid a whole lot. And I needed something to help pay some bills, but I was also determined to have something that was going to be not stressful and relaxing and fun. And since I love theme parks, hey, it made sense. So I actually went in and I applied to be a ride operator on a roller coaster. I think I'd actually named Wildfire as the one I wanted to work on. While I was sitting there with the interview, the guy I was doing the screening interview asked me, well, have you thought about the train? Now, I was familiar with the train at Silver Dollar City, and I figured since they were doing a show, it had to be entertainment or acting. And so when they said, have you thought about the train? I was like, oh, that would be awesome and cool, but isn't that a different department? Nope, it's actually part of rides. Okay, I would love to try out for that. And so they told me they were going to pass on my application to that department, and as I sat there, waiting for my wife and daughter to do their interviews, I began to think, that would totally be cool. The train at Silver Dollar City is a perfect fit. And so by the time they called me, I had actually determined that not only did I want that job at the train, but that they were going to want me, and that I was not going to leave any doubt in their mind that I was the guy that they needed. It also meant that I wanted to impress them so much that when I talked about needing Sundays off because of my work at church and working around the schedule, that I was going to have them so convinced they want me that they were willing to work around that. So this is kind of the process that was going through my mind, and they called me over specifically to do the interview for the train. Had a great interview, made sure I was letting them know who I was and what I could do, and that I had done the photography at Disney. I had done something similar with Rhino Rally, and then they handed me part of the script. And here's where the job interview for something like the train really kicks in. You would get a part of the script. In this case, it was the safety spiel you give when everybody's in the station. They let you read over it real quick, and then they want you to deliver it as if you're working on the train. And so I looked over that script, and I said, okay, give me just a minute, kind of review it. Supposed to do it in a hillbilly accent, and it had a couple cues on it. Read it through, and then kind of looked at them and said, all right, so here's what I see happening. Well, howdy, folks. Y'all ready for a train ride? Lucky for you, I've got a train. Before I let you on this here old train, I've got 2 safety rules for you. Number 1, if you've got little ones with you who need to be on the inside of a seat away from the doors, please scoot them there. If their feet ain't touching the floor, we want them on the inside because we don't want to see them bounce. Number 2, when you get on that train, you're going to see a bright orange cable over your head. That is a pull cord. It is for emergency use only because if it is pulled, the engineer stops the train, EMTs are dispatched, and we sit for a long time. So please don't pull that cord for anything but an actual medical emergency. If you pull that cord and you don't have a medical emergency, one will be arranged for you. Ready? All aboard! And that was pretty much kind of what I read and personalized it and made it me. Well, they watched that and watched me and kind of went, yeah, we need you. Can you be here opening day? Yep. And I got the job on the spot, and I was actually out there a week before opening learning how to do the train. Now, your first several days on the train are learning all the safety stuff, and there's a whole book of safety procedures and operations and everything you need to know. You need to know how all the controls on the train work because there's a number of switches and speakers and things that you have to be aware of. You've got to know how the procedures work so you know how everything operates because safety is the #1 concern. Entertainment and fun comes right after that. So your first few days are actually learning all the safety stuff, as well as getting the show script and working on that and trying to memorize it. You might be surprised how much of that is scripted. People tell me all the time, oh yeah, they flubbed the show up and they made this mistake and that mistake. And I think people would be a little surprised to know how many of those flub ups are actually scripted. Most of them are. There are ad-lib spots, it does happen, but most of the show is actually pretty scripted, including things that take into account when something might happen. So you can actually take a flub and a mistake and turn it right into a scripted part. Your first job is to memorize that script. Because if you flub up the script, it flub ups all the punchlines and it can mess the whole show up. So not only are you learning the safety stuff, but you get that script and you actually start off in the woods as a robber. You start off as Ralphie, who's the younger, dumber brother, although it was kind of funny when Ralphie was older. And he is the first part you learn. And while you're learning Ralphie and learning the script and getting down how to perform it, you're also in between trains learning all the safety procedures and everything else. And you get a couple days of robbing where they want to make sure that you get that down. And by the time you get the robbing down, then they start working you over on conductor. Robbing is interesting because the character personalities are something that some people struggle with. The best way I can think of to describe Ralphie Bolin is the way one of my coworkers did. Rick would say that Ralphie was like a baby duck. It was a new world every morning and everything was brand new. Ralphie is simple. He's a little slow, a little dumb, but he is not an imbecile. He's not a complete doofus, and he is not physically challenged. We had some people that had a hard time getting that through their heads. One of the guys just could not seem to get it. And so when he would run up the hill away from the conductor and the gun, he liked to run sticking his butt out. No, that's not Ralphie. Stop it. It was frustrating over the years how many people couldn't seem to figure out that the robbers thought they were brilliant when they were a little slow. And yeah, they were dumb, but they weren't complete imbeciles. It took some people a while to get that. We would have to tell people, just do the script. Just do the lines in the script. And if you do that, it will work for you. And you could actually do that whole script completely deadpan with no personality. And it would be funny. And then after you got that, then you would start working on the personalities. The people that really got it, the robbers became a part of them. It was part of their personality that was coming out, and you could tap into it that way. You didn't make them into something they weren't. You didn't act. You let it be you in a different form. In fact, actors were actually the worst ones sometimes. People who came in with a theater background, oh, we had one guy that we washed out because he kept trying to make it a big production and stage left, stage right. I'm like, no, dude, just follow the directions. I've done theater. I've done college acting and stuff. This isn't that. Don't make it that. After we had finally gotten the robbing down, then we would move on to conducting. And conducting, again, it was turning into a different part of the script, but you also then had the spiel all the way around because you're telling the passengers what everything is along the way, and you've got all sorts of jokes that you're telling along that. You've got the safety spiels, you got more safety because you're trying to take care of the passengers. And so in my case, I actually spent a day just riding the train around over and over and over, almost every ride, listening to the spiels, the conductors, listening to what they're saying, and by the end of the day, doing portions of it myself, trying to memorize it, get it down, what everything is. By the second day, I was actually doing the conducting. And I honestly don't remember if I was doing the show as the conductor by the second day as well or not. But I know I was at least doing the spiel. And after you get that down and you're feeling pretty comfortable, and it can take 2 to 4 days typically, depending upon the person. We had some that took longer, and if it was taking them longer, we kind of knew that there was going to be trouble and that they might not make it. But typically 2 to 4 days, and then they would have a manager come down, sign you off, and you were turned loose and ready to go. Not everybody made it on the train. The train, when I was there, was kind of considered the prized position in the park because it was so much fun, but it was also one of the hardest places to work in the park because there is so much spieling, so much acting, so much with the show, so much performing, and you don't get the breaks like other shows do. If you're performing, say, at the saloon, you've got 3 to 5 shows a day, and you have breaks in between. We would do, on a regular day, 15 performances, sometimes 20. And if it was a long day or a busy day, I had one day where I marked down that I did over 35 different performances, all of them between 12 and 14 minutes each. That's a lot of performing over the course of a day, so it can be exhausting. But it was kind of funny because once I was done with the training and the conducting, it was so much easier on my own. I remember trying to get it down and having your trainer stand next to you or a manager stand next to you, and it's kind of intimidating when you've got that person next to you watching to make sure you get everything exactly right and making sure that you don't flub up anything too badly. And once you're signed off, it's like, hey, I'm free! And that was a lot of fun to be able to then take bits of the script and customize it. We all had our own little bits that we did, our own personal bits. You were supposed to get them approved by your lead, by the supervisor, by the managers, to make sure that they would meet company approval. But after you'd been there a little while, most of us had a pretty good feel for what was okay and what wasn't. And most of us, frankly, didn't really want to cross that line anyways. And what was really fun is when you got to ride with somebody else conducting and you would listen to their spiel and go, hey, I like that line, I'm going to steal it. We were constantly borrowing from other people and looking for ways to improve our spiel, but at the same time have fun and make it be us. So next time you go ride the train at Silver Dollar City, you have a little bit of an idea of what those robbers and conductors had to go through to get out there. Now you know too that not everything out there that looks like it's a mistake or an ad lib is. They've got a lot of it planned, but it's a lot of fun. Easily one of my favorite jobs I've ever had. So have you had a great experience on the train? Do you remember something memorable? I'd love to hear your comments, your feedback, your memories. Please don't forget to leave it in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. And hey, if you haven't checked out my video yet on Time Traveler and its grand opening, which just happened, don't forget to do that. I've got a link in the description below. Thank you so much to my patrons for supporting me too. I am so appreciative. I've been able to do so much because of their support. If you want to know more about Patreon or my Facebook page or Reddit or Discord or my store, please don't forget to check the links in the description. Thank you so much for watching and God bless. I started out working at Silver Dollar City back in 2000. When did I start? I don't remember. We had one guy that we tried to train and he kept wanting to make the phone ring. If I can get my stupid phone to stop ringing. Ah! Flub ups and errors, just like I was saying. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button right there. If you'd like to see another great video of mine, there's a good one right there for you. And if you'd like to be like these wonderful people and support me on Patreon, hit that link right there. Thanks so much.